Mason Mount, the new number 7. No one saw that coming, mate. The number 7.
No, listen, I think the way Ten Hag's gone about him, he definitely wanted him. I think rival fans are like, well, is that going to change Man United a lot, Mason Mount? Only time will tell. But I think when a manager, he might have a plan in his head. You know, we've seen other managers buy players and it's not quite fit the groove, and then all of a sudden he's turned out amazing. I know he's a good player, and I think he is a tidy player. I think he's a steady player, but I think the United fans want this. I don't know. I think they want this big marquee sort of signing to come in and blow everyone's head off. I don't think that's going to happen at the minute. But listen, he's obviously, I thought he was this big Chelsea boy, and he was Chelsea through and through, and all this stuff. And
Chelsea.
Yeah, but the way it seems he's left, and the way they don't seem to be too. Some people are arsed, some are not. But it is what it is. He's a good player. I think he's a good character as well. I think a lot of people underestimate players' characters these days. I think it plays a big part in signings. I think the thing is with Man United over the last few seasons with Ten Hag, I think he had a lot of characters to deal with and a lot of people to get out of the club. So he's probably trying to change that ethos a little bit. He's trying to bring people in that are good to work with, good trainers, lead by example on the training ground, lead by example off the pitch. And I think Mason Mount ticks all them boxes. I think he's not that kind of player, but I'm just going to hold court on it. I'm just going to hold fire on it. I don't know. I think Ten Hag's got a plan, and I think, if he might do all right there. I don't know. But I don't think he don't scare any rivals. I don't think there's anyone quaking in the boots that Mason Mount's going to Man United. I think people are just like, okay, it's steady. But then you look at McTominay, you look at Fred, and you're like, you look at Casemiro, who's a great player, but he's only going to be going one way, in my opinion now. He's only going to be going backwards. So, I think there's other midfield options as well. He needs to freshen it up.
Mate, listen, I agree. Look, I love the fact, maybe not that he got the number 7 shirt, we'll see. It's very iconic at my football club. And I'm a little bit old school. But I like the fact that we now know 100% this was a big priority signing for the manager. This wasn't just we'll get him because we need English quota. We'll get him because we can't afford anybody else. Because you'd give him any old number. You wouldn't be giving someone like that the number 7. So it puts a nice amount of pressure upon the manager, which needs to exist to help get you back to the top. But this is dependent on who else comes in. And a really interesting story today that is circulating and picking up. It's really funny because there's been 3 stories this summer from Italy. One was that we were going to get Kim Min-jae, and the British press never really picked up on it. And of course, that fell through. I think he's doing his medical today at Bayern Munich. But then the same Italian journalist said that they're also going to go for Onana. And all of their stories have not been all 100% accurate, but all the big British press are now saying we've bid. We're highly confident we're going to pick up Onana. The same journalists again now in Italy are saying that we've got a full agreement with Amrabat's entourage on personal terms, and that Fiorentina will accept a fee of around 30 million euros, which I think is cheap. And I believe if you throw another midfielder in like an Amrabat, then I really look at the Mount deal as being brilliant, because I think Mount was great in those attacking areas, helping to break lines, excellent on the press. But if we have someone else of high quality, like an Amrabat, next to Casemiro in that midfield, it gives us such a strong foundation, which we haven't had for a while. And it makes the Mount deal go from being a good deal to a very good deal, because as we all know, it's about the team. So, if we can then also pick up, we can bring in Amrabat and Mount for a combined amount of around 75 million. That's really good business for the budget that we've got. So I am praying that we are adding that additional midfielder. Listen, there are other midfielders out there, the Caicedos of this world. I like the look of Lavia's. But a lot of Man United fans have been saying we need someone maybe a bit older, a bit more experienced. And I think Amrabat might be that person. Having too many youngsters might be an issue. So I'm happy with Mount. I'm happy that we know he's a top target. But it's now about moving on to Amrabat and getting that deal done. Because we all saw that the guy was amazing in the World Cup. He's had a brilliant season for Argentina. And if he can replicate that for Man United next to Casemiro, I do believe we can go to another level next year. I really, really do. And they're saying
is Amrabat is he better than Fred?
In my opinion, now again, I've seen Fred play a lot more than Amrabat. I saw every game he played at the World Cup. I probably watched about 4 or 5 Fiorentina games. I've read a lot about him. I believe he will be. I think he can cover the ground, similar speeds. Fred might be a little quicker, but he's got great energy. He's got great stamina. He's a better tackler. He's better at winning the ball. I think he's got a better passing range as well. Now, there's always the chance it doesn't translate to the Premier League. I think when you buy anybody from outside the Premier League, there's always that risk. But I'd be really confident in a player like him coming in and just giving us extra still in the middle next to Casemiro. For certain games, it means you can rest Casemiro and play Amrabat in his position and bring the Mounts or the Ericsson's in as well. So yeah, that's what I want now. If we can go and get him, and then there should be money left to go and get that striker, get Andre Onana in, then go and get a really good number 9. And then I think we're set for next. I really then think we'll be set for next season to be a real. I don't know if we'll win the league. I don't believe we will because you're my favourites right now, City. But I believe we'll be a much bigger threat by improving our core in that way. So yeah, for me, I'm excited about the prospect of it. I really am.
Do you think there is financial constraints there at United, or is it paper talk? Do you think that they're definitely shopping within a budget? Because you wouldn't have picked Mason Mount out, you wouldn't have picked Amrabat out as Man United signings this season, even with financial constraints. You wouldn't have picked Onana really, because I think people are looking at Raya and that in net. De Gea, he's a great goalkeeper. He does make the odd mistake, but he's a good goalkeeper. But you don't know, it just might be a bit. I was impressed with Onana for Inter Milan in the Champions League final. I thought he was steady away, and obviously he's worked with him before. I don't know. Maybe it's just a different direction that Man United are going in. I've said it before on these shows. We did the Falcaos, we did the Ibrahimovic, we did the Cavani's, we did all these Schweinsteigers, Di Marias, all these sort of marquees where everyone gets excited and fucking tells everyone we're going to win the European Cup, and it don't work. Maybe this is just a low-key window where he's just adding a few little pieces to the jigsaw, keeping it low-key and ready to push on.
Do you know what's interesting? The budget thing, I believe there is a restraint, but I don't believe it's this £100 million marker the media have said. They say that every year we spend more. But I believe Man United are pushing out this notion that we're skint because they're trying to keep the prices down. I think that's a sensible thing to do. I don't like that. When Woodward 10 years ago said we can do things in the market nobody else can, all that led to is our signing side costing more than everybody else's, and it was stupid because you waste money doing that. And I know there's a lot of football fans who think it's not my money, why do I care? But if you overbuy on average by £10 million per player and undersell by £10 million on average, per summer you're wasting £50-60 million, and you need that at some point for contract renewals and whatever else. Mount, there's something about this with Man United fans. All I keep seeing throughout the course of the season from certain Man United fans is, why do we always buy the obvious players? So a lot of the Baller FC guys who hate on Mount, hate the idea of him coming in, they're the same people that will say, why are we always linked to the most obvious signings? We then get Mount and Amrabat, who were on the tip of nobody's tongue 2 months ago, 3 months ago, and suddenly they're angry that we're not signing the right kind of players. For me, that's the element I'm excited about. The fact that we're profiling a couple of individuals who are a little bit left field. During the World Cup, everybody wanted Amrabat, I think. But then throughout the course of the season, the hype sort of died down until that Conference League final. But that's what makes me excited, Steve. I think maybe we're buying maybe for the first time in 10 years, we're buying the right players for the manager. And then look, in the early days of Oli, we did that to a degree, but he was nowhere near the level of manager. And then we had that summer where we brought in Ronaldo, which with hindsight, you look back at it, it really flew in the face of what he was trying to do and achieve, and things crumbled and fell apart. So for me, the fact they've given Mount the number 7, the fact that, again, Onana, for me, Onana is one of the best goalkeepers in the world. If we can pick him up for about £45 million, it's a snip. Very good shot stopper. And when it comes to his feet, he's every bit as good as Alisson or Edison. And that's one thing when I watch you boys, I'm so jealous that your goalie can just ping these passes around like he's KDB or David Beckham and find people. So, yeah, look, I'm a little bit... Some of the signings are understated. They're not superstars. But there's an element of me that's really excited about that. But either way, we spend that money. There's big pressure on Man United to perform next year. There's nowhere to hide. Challenge for that title. Try and win more trophies. And do us proud in the Champions League at the end of the day. I don't want to go... We're not in phase 2 to phase 3 to phase 4. Let's start... I don't expect us to win. because you are better than us. Arsenal are better than us. But I expect us to be competitive next year, 100%.
Yeah, I think United had a good season, to be fair. When you look at it from where they was, the way they started the season as well, a couple of early shocks, and people were thinking, you know, Ten Hag might have bitten off a bit more than he can chew. But no, I think they'll do all right. I think they'll do okay. I think you're right. I think it's just a different direction he's going in. He doesn't have to bring in... I know Man United fans demand superstars. I know they demand this level of player, but sometimes you've got to be the boss and you've got to take a step back, and no matter what the fans demand. I think United have been guilty in the past. The Ronaldo deal came out of left field because they heard City was interested in him. No matter what happened, it was a knee-jerk reaction by the whole club. And there was a lot of sentiment involved. There was a lot of Ronaldo loving involved, and they got him. And he had a good season, but he left on bad terms, and he's shown United up. He showed another side to United, talking about the facilities and that, which he didn't need at the time. Ten Hag's came in now. He's changed the mentality. He speaks well. He seems to have a connection with the fans, which I think was missing at Man United. I think people loved Ollie, but they loved him because they felt sorry for him. You know, he'd come out after a game and he'd be very, very quiet, and he didn't really give you that optimism, you know what I mean? And Ole Gunnar Solskjaer finished second, you know what I mean? And he had a good run, but he wasn't that man. Whereas Ten Hag will come out and he can break it down tactically. He's not afraid of saying things. He come and said there's going to be eras come to an end. He did his little speech to the FA Cup final, which it didn't work, but you don't mind managers like that. At least he's got a pair of bollocks to go out and say to Man United fans. And the pressure on anyone at Man United is different. This is where Mason Mount's going to learn a bit of a harsh lesson, I think, in my opinion. He's going to go to Man United. It's different. It's different than Chelsea. And anyone can argue and say, no, you're talking shit, Steve. Trust me, it's fucking different. So Jadon Sancho has realised that. You know, once you're in that Man United goldfish bowl, it's coming from all angles and there's no hiding. There's no way to get away from that. You know what I mean? And Mason Mount drops a couple of stink bombs at Chelsea's. Mason Mount from Cobham, and they all love him, and he gets away with it and he goes again. Drop a couple of them stinkers at Man United, mate, and you've got fucking millions on your case. Literally millions on your case overnight. And then I think Ten Hag knows that. And I think, listen, if I'm a Man United fan now, the season have just had, Ten Hag as manager, a potential takeover, I'm going to be happy. I'm going to be happy.
Mate, I'm the same. I'm cautiously optimistic about what's kind of going on. There was a comment from a member here that said, "You're only saying that now, though, Terry. Onana wasn't that good before he went to Inter." But again, I can only judge a player as of now when we're buying him, and he's over the last few years he's gone to another level. And during that Champions League final, all and sundry were raving about him. Now that he's suddenly, I'm not saying you're doing this, Dom, personally, but now he's on the edge of joining Manchester United. And Fabrizio Romano has just tweeted, since we've been live, actually, and stated that United and Inter are now in direct contact. It's one of the reasons why I keep saying to people, don't ignore the Italian press, because they were ahead of this before Fabrizio's and Ornsteins and Jacobs are over it. So that's why I'm quietly optimistic about Amrabat right now as well. But he was being raved about Onana. Now suddenly he's linked to Man United, and actually this isn't good and that's bad and you shouldn't do this. And by the way, if we were buying Raya, if we were buying Costa, there'd be a reason for people to dislike it. It's a brilliant signing for Man United. And Onana himself, I go by what Pep Guardiola said about him. It makes a goalie like him makes it very hard to press a team. Because if you press with 4 or 5 people, they'll ping a ball into the middle now where there's space. And Man United need that. This here said, we'll come to anything that's Arsenal related. We'll come back to later on the show. Thank you, Dominic.